What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Teach Be Strength podcast. My name is John Evans, and I coach many of the highest jumpers in the world, like this guy. And before we do that, if you're interested in coaching, click the link in the description. You can currently get 6 months free when you purchase a 6-month package. We're the best in the business. We love it. And we're going to talk about jump training today, specifically Isaiah tested. So we have many thoughts about this, and we'll share the results with you. So Isaiah, tell the people how the session went.
Yeah, so for context, we just did 8 weeks of loading. 4 weeks focused on building volume. Then we went straight into the second cycle. I don't think we unloaded from the first cycle. Maybe like a small.
It was brief.
Like a small unload. Month 2 was high intensity, so built intensity, and then we unloaded during week 4. Week 3, I PR'd my deep back squat, and I PR'd my power clean. Hit 440 pounds on the squat at 185 pounds body weight, and then 325 pounds on my power clean. So way stronger than I've ever been. And then we unloaded. I've also been dealing with a little bit of knee pain, but it's been coming down every week, and we felt confident that by the session today, it wouldn't hurt. And it didn't. I was able to jump completely healthy today. Proceeded to test. I was warming up for the jump session. Felt very good. As soon as I started doing my warm-up jumps, I gave a thumbs up to John. I was like, I feel good. I usually have a pretty good measure of how I'm feeling based on the warm-up. I was getting up really high with minimal effort. Once I was jumping around 90% effort, pulled out the vert trainer. And then I think we started at 11 feet and then just built up 2 inches at a time. I was hitting it super easy. I could just tell it was a good jumping day. Got to 12 feet and I missed it. And then I was like, no, I'm feeling way too good to miss 12 feet. So then I went literally off of like a walk up and then a penultimate and just crushed 12 feet. I touched probably like halfway down my middle finger, so it was probably like a 48.5 inch jump. The flight time corroborated it, 0.958. Never jumped that high off a short approach, ever. I don't think I've ever even been above 12, or touched 12 on a short approach. Then we bumped it up to 12.2, which would be a 49 inch vert, and as soon as I added speed, I lost like 2 inches on my vertical. Probably tried 10 more jumps, still trying to run fast the whole time. Couldn't get it. The best I probably jumped running fast was just shy of 49. I was really close to hitting it. So 48.5 was best vertical on the day. Technically hit it twice. One during a short approach, max effort jump. Short approach doesn't mean I wasn't trying. Like took penultimate and then jumped really hard. And then it touched 48.5 again with way more speed, full approach, max effort.
Yeah, so I have many thoughts about this. I've kind of gone through when Isaiah was doing the session. I think it's easy to get deflated when you hit all-time PRs in the weight room, you all-time power clean max, unload, you all-time squat max. You've got 10 days of rest, and the expectation is to do it, load up caffeine. So it's easy to get deflated, and I always tell the guys this, it's just data. And we don't often have the luxury of testing because the loading is so crazy high on the tendon that I don't like to do it often. And it's usually something that pisses off his knee, makes Donovan's knees hurt, makes Josh's knees hurt. I don't like testing too often. It's just really intense. But there's a lot of benefit in doing it because you're able to hit true intensities. You're able to get the most specific loading out of it. And max effort jumping is the best way to get better at max effort jumping. Especially early on, but later on, it's something you can't get too far away from, right? So
I want to add more context I forgot about there. The last 8 weeks, I don't think I took a single truly max effort jump because we were technically rehabbing the knee at the same time. So my jump sessions were literally playing basketball and get 10 to 15 jumps in between games. The highest intensities I probably got to were like 90% on the jumps. I think I did maybe 1 or 2 height checks during that period of time where I was trying hard.
Yeah, so we've been hitting, last week was 0.958, this week was 0.958, and there's a couple other data points that makes this unsurprising. So one, it tells me, okay, unloaded, after hitting all-time maxes, you're not hitting your best vertical ever. So the first conclusion that you can make is, well, it could have been fatigue, but I don't necessarily think that's the case because I gave him 10 days. There might be still some transient fatigue, but I don't know if it would have been enough for him to hit, crazy changes in his vertical. So I don't attribute most of the change to that. What I think it is when we look at across the board, one is he wasn't max effort jumping, so you're not seeing that stimulus super often. The second is when we looked at velo on clean pulls during a 275 pull and a 245 pound pull, and I think 280 as well, his velos were higher than they've ever been at the higher loads. And I had told him this, hey, you're moving heavy loads faster, and that is what you would expect when you've been doing a lot of max strength work. So we then look at his lighter loads, and he's not moving those loads quite as fast as he was previously.
They were actually really slow. I think
really
I was
slow.
0.4 meters per second slower
on peak
on
velo.
245.
Yeah. So that told me, I was like, oh, you have a velocity deficit. Like, you aren't able to move these light loads very fast like you previously would have. And there's a couple other things to consider. We haven't been sprinting, and we haven't been sprinting because, one, we didn't want to piss his Achilles off, and two, we didn't want to have his TFL get any injuries, and then three, sometimes his meniscus. And the goal was always to keep him healthy. So that's one potential variable there. The second is the focus of the cycle was not eccentric strength. It wasn't fast eccentric strength. It wasn't working on stress shortening cycles. You guys know this. I don't use a lot of plyos because they're jumping a lot.
And I do want to highlight the point. I technically jumped my highest ever off a short approach.
Yeah.
Very low approach velocity. Like when you guys see the jump, like I did not run. And then as soon as I added speed, which normally when I add speed, I jump way higher. My difference between my standing and approach vertical all times like 12 inches.
You should have done off vert.
I should have.
Should have done off vert.
Yeah.
Probably been pretty good.
Probably. I think 41,
Yeah.
42 or something like that. So keep that in mind when John's explaining the deficit, the eccentric strength part.
And so when you're running into a full speed jump off 2 feet, even though it's slower than 1 foot jumping, it's slower than a high jump, it's slower than a long jump, you still need to have very good intramuscular tension that is really fast, relatively fast, during the eccentric phase of the jump. The ground contact time is like 225 to 230 for him on his best jumps. So
we should look at the ground
we can also look at the
time.
ground contact times, and I bet you it's going to be longer.
Yeah.
And so right now he's lacking the ability to produce force in that window of time, because in the past we've seen the higher he jumps, those ground contacts go down because he's benefiting from storing, releasing more energy really, really quickly. So we know that there's some deficit on the eccentric side of things. There's some deficit in this really fast quasi-isometric condition in the musculotendinous unit of the quad, maybe the lower leg too, maybe the hips, but definitely in the quadriceps. But we haven't been working on that. So it's not necessarily bad because it just tells us what we already knew. It just confirms our intuition about this. And I was telling him during breakfast, I was like, yeah, I mean, think about it. There's, times whenever early on, you didn't respond traditionally to training, but there was a ton of other variables at play. One, you didn't have any injuries. Two, you're testing in insanely adrenaline hype environments. I don't know what the word for that is. And so the not readiness, what's the other word? It's excitement.
Yeah.
The level of excitement is way higher. And if it goes too high, you go the other direction and your readiness will drop. But
I've actually never seen I've seen my dunking drop off if I'm too excited, but generally the more hype and adrenaline and caffeine I have, the higher I jump.
Yeah. So
on a vertical test.
Right. And so those variables were not at play. It wasn't. And two, it's become testing or dunk session excitement has become more stale than it was earlier on. When you've been dunking for 15 years or something like that, like he has, you look forward to sessions, but not as much as you did in year 3, year 4, year 5. And I'm sure you can relate to that. Like, you don't get as much excitement out of it. I never get excitement out of sessions. You can ask Isaiah, I never really have. But I've been dunking since I was 14. I've been dunking for, what is that? I don't even know. Almost 20 years, 18 years.
18.
That's crazy. So for me, it's just like another day at the office. I don't really think much of it. I go in, I collect the data, I look, and I just take it into consideration. Rarely do I get adrenaline. It's not common. And when I do, I jump way higher. So taking all those into account, it gives us a very clear picture of what we need to work on in the following months. And it's also confirmation of what I've always said, is that you can't just do max strength work and jump and expect to be your best. You need to do other stuff.
One thing I do want to touch on, I've jumped high before post max strength work. First time I tested 50 was after unloading from max strength. But one variable that has been pretty consistent every time I've had my highest jumps ever is I've strung together 3-4 weeks in a row of being able to get max jumps in a session. Remember, it's been 8 weeks since I've gone max approach, max speed, max intent on a jump. And I think doing that in conjunction with the max strength work allows me to have at least some eccentric capabilities.
I think so too. So in the past though, or that was like really the past, that was like 2022. And then he retested 50.5 in 2024. Is that what it was? 2023?
Yeah.
2024. So early 24, right? So now we're in a position where we've seen, he's all-time strength levels, unloaded, missing a key variable, specificity and intensity. We haven't done the eccentric work in a long time, mostly for health reasons. We're moving into that this upcoming month, and that's part of the plan. You have to cycle through different types of stimuli to spur on adaptation, and you need to get more specific. Intensity has to increase. We're now only 2 months into the mesocycle, so I wouldn't expect him to jump high, but I've seen him do it before. And so
Technically, I did jump high.
you did jump high. I wouldn't expect you to hit all-time levels. So I think now he's responding very traditionally to training. I think now we move into this eccentric period, max eccentric strength period. We're going to work on the velos in the power cleans at heavy light-ish loads. It's kind of like a tweener, like peak power loads. Not necessarily power snatch at 50%, but it's going to be like power clean at like 80% or 85% shooting for velo. And really the goal is beat your all-time best velo. And I'm not always going to tell him what that is. Probably just on the top sets, that'll be the case.
And don't yank the bar.
Don't yank the bar off the floor. Yeah.
I yanked the bar on Monday because I was trying to get a higher peak velo, and I just flared up my back because I freaking literally, bam!
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I think the big thing we wanted to do was keep him healthy. And we were able to get max effort jumps in. We were able to keep him healthy, and we were able to find out where he's at right now. So
data.
It's data. I always say this to Donovan all the time. I'm like, it's just data. Sometimes you're going to jump bad. Sometimes you're going to jump well. It doesn't mean your vertical's gone forever. It just means that during this period, these things happened. You take that information, and you make decisions based off of it. That's what you should do in life in general. You take information, don't repeat the same mistake again, and change moving forward. We had a good conversation about this in terms of life at breakfast. So that's the video, guys. If you're interested in coaching, click the link in the description or the pinned comment. 6 months free when you purchase a 6-month package. And we'll see you guys Monday.
Yeah. We're going to review Dunkman.
Dunkman!